Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel. I am FPL Dean and today you're here for your Game Week 36 preview, early thoughts, transfer plans, etc, etc. We've got 3 weeks left. I've got 2 chips left. I'm playing one of them this week. Triple Captain is ready. I've already activated it. We are ready to go. I don't know who I'm going to end up on by the end of the week. And I don't know who I'm going to bring in this week, but I've got 2 free transfers. I've got 7.4 million in the bank, so all options are on the table. Before we go any further, though, we have a new leader of the Think You Can Beat the D Unit comp. The league code is on all my videos. BBL Drizzy, managed by Brian Pollander, scored 56 points this week, taking him up to 2,497 points for the season, and he's inside the top 500 teams worldwide. And we had a top scorer this week, Bowen747, with Jared Bowen and his team, coached by Mark Gucci. He got a massive 78 points, which was really good, taking up to 2,421 points, and he's closing in on me, and he's up to 10th position. It's the 10th position in the league. Without further ado, smash a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and let's jump straight into it. Here we are, game week 35. How did we go? 52 points is where we finished at the end of that. There were a couple of calls I got wrong. The card said to start Clivert over Murphy, and look, to be honest, I'm not sure why Murphy keeps on getting early subbed. Barnes does not look any good on the right, and that's essentially what happens every time Murphy comes off for Gordon. Maybe you just need to take off Barnes, and you might end up finding that you don't draw with Brighton, Eddie Howe. How hard can it be? Play Jacob Murphy. Look, honestly, I'm probably likely to make a transfer in the midfield this week. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I might even take a -4 in order to do this because Clive and Murphy are 2 players I don't want to be playing between now and 38, pretty much. And I'm free hitting 38, so that means I don't need them. I want a better midfielder there. In reality, what I should have done in game week 35 was bring in Kevin De Bruyne. I would have been 10 points better off. I would have been 10 points closer to the top 1K. It is what it is. I missed out. Is what it is. Raya, 1 point. Verbruggen, oh mate, he's the ultimate troll. He was on track for 10 points and then he ended up with 3. That was still 2 more than Raya. And this week, we'll have a look at what my team's looking at the end of this video. But Verbruggen is currently starting instead of Raya, but I'm probably likely to transfer out Raya as one of my moves. Guavio was fantastic. 8 points there. 2 bonus with a clean sheet. That was really good. Munoz, I got that call slightly wrong. Milinkovic would have been slightly better there. I mean, ironically, if you had Williams or Murillo, you were the real winners in this game week with the goal for Murillo and the assist for Nico Williams. Dan Burn, Newcastle were very disappointing in that game, so not much to be said there. Jared Bowen, 9 points. Probably should have captained him in the end instead of Mbeumo. Mbeumo with 5, doubled to 10 as my captain. Obviously went better than Salah, who got 2, and Marmoush, who got 2, and Murphy, who got 1. But in reality, I was very confident on Jared Bowen. I just thought that Brian and Mbeumo would get more, especially considering they scored 4 goals. However, it was someone else from Brentford, and we'll have a look at that in a little bit, that performed much better. Wissa continued his hot form, again scoring and getting 1 bonus point. That was nice. And Isaac, who was exceptionally disappointing in this Newcastle versus Brighton game, did nothing, got the penalty, scored 3 bonus points thanks to coming. On the bench, ironically, I got more than my bench boost week on the bench. 2 points for Kukurea, Milinkovic, and Clivert, and then obviously 3 for Verbruggen, meaning I left 9 points on the bench this week. So it wasn't too bad. It was a pretty good game week, up slightly, 500 points, not too much to complain about there. And yeah, that's pretty much game week 35 wrapped up. So game week 36 early notes, this is what we've got. Game week 35 was back to the much lower average score. Barely a clean sheet was to be found, as per usual. I don't think we're likely to see too many clean sheets between now and the end of the season. Lots of teams now just going out there and having fun, really. And you don't know what... I mean, the Brentford-Man United game speaks for itself. 4-3. What on earth was going on there? And there weren't too many massive holes. We thought that there could be massive holes. In reality, there was a couple, but not many. And Mbeumo and Wissa both returned for Brentford, but it was Kevin Schade, who will definitely be featuring in the differentials video that will be coming out tomorrow. 15 points, 2 goals in that game. Unbelievable. And Garnacho, goal and assist. Where has that been pretty much all season? Finally got his decision-making right and his finishing right for a big haul in that game as well. Bowen continues to return, but again, he can't get the double-figure haul. And Kevin De Bruyne, is taking us down memory lane, winding the clock back, top scorer in that Man City Wolves game with the goal and the 3 bonus and the clean sheet for a massive 11 points. Missed out there by not moving on him. Now, the interesting point in that game was that Haaland was on the bench. He was on the bench, and what does that mean for game week 36 and the triple captaincy chip? I'm very tempted with the exact money to transfer out Marmoush for Haaland to do that transfer. If he's sitting on the bench, surely he needs game time before the summer, the Club World Cup, the FA Cup. Surely he starts against Southampton. If he does, you could back him in for a monster haul. It's a great game to bring him back for as well. I really like it. It's definitely something I'm strongly considering this week, but I won't be moving early because obviously I will be making a second transfer and I will be freeing up a little bit of money with my second transfer, so I don't need to move early on that one. Is this the week also to make forward transfers? Is Isaac a sell this week for the likes of Chris Wood, who's versing Leicester? I'm not sure. We're going to look in that a little bit more throughout the week, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. Palmer finally returns from the penalty spot, showing just the brilliance of penalty takers in general and having them in your team, rewarding his owners who potentially might have had about enough of him. He delivered with 9 points. So if you held him for this long, congratulations. He finally got you something back the other way. Also, what on earth is going on with Arteta and Arsenal? Fields a full-strength team and they lose. They lost to Bournemouth. Everyone else rested their assets for Europe. I don't know what Arteta's trying to play at. If it doesn't pay off, and they get beaten by a rested PSG midweek, I think it's probably Arteta out, if I'm being brutally honest, for all those Arsenal fans out there. Liverpool, I don't think they're keeping a clean sheet this season either. They were pretty bang average against Chelsea. They actually gave up an XGC of over 3 goals. So that is not good. And I don't think I'd be having Trent, Van Dijk, Canade, any of them in my team between now and the end of the season. I can't see them keeping another clean sheet. Forest dropped more points overnight as well, so the battle for 5th is really heating up, and they can't afford any more setbacks from here. And also, lastly, Mateta is no longer on penalties. Eze's back on him, and he put away the penalty, and I dare say he'll be taking the next one as well. See, the assistant manager in game week 35, and it was the return of the table bonus points, and that's what we love to hear. Unfortunately, slightly too late for the game week 31 to 33 play, but Oliver Glasner, 9 points here. Fantastic stuff. He was my top pick this week, but he was actually upstaged. And I know it says a 2-2 draw there against Nottingham Forest. It was actually 1-1, which is why it's 9 points. I made this slide last night in preparation, trying to predict the scoreline. I was slightly off. I was hoping for a Murdoch's goal as well, but it didn't happen. Obviously, Iraola, 18 points with a 2-1 win against Arsenal was absolutely massive. Again, showing the power of the table bonus. Lots of people playing it safe with Pep Guardiola. If you took a little bit of a risk, you loved life this week. You absolutely love life. Iraola, fantastic stuff there. And I'm glad that the table bonus is back live and well. The game week 35 star, though, was one Kevin Schade of Brentford. He was incredible. Honestly, he was incredible. 2 goals in this game. Obviously, no clean sheet, but he got the 3 bonus points. 15 points in total. 15 points. Wisser and Mbeumo combined got 12. He outscored him by himself by 3 points. Unbelievable effort of an XGI of 1.21. That was expected goal completely. He had no expected assist involvement at all. So an XGI of 1.21, 2 goals, and ironically, he only had an expected goals conceded of 1.25, which I thought was actually really interesting. Obviously, he was taken off before the end of the game when Man United did score those couple of goals, so that might have something to do with it. But he is a great differential. Very low owned, with Ipswich away this week as well, and then Fulham, and then Wolves to finish. He could be a really good differential for a low owned spot, and he's actually someone I'm contemplating. Now he's got 3 goals in the last 2 game weeks, bringing into my team as just a 1-week punt against that Ipswich team. The game week 35 punt, though, that I did think about, and I just kind of wished that I backed it in. It was because of the fact that I was interested in Haaland. I wanted to save the money for him for this week because obviously I've got my triple captaincy chip. Now, I could, ironically, still bring in Kevin De Bruyne and ignore Haaland and keep Marmoush and still play my triple captaincy chip on maybe a Kevin De Bruyne this week. That is also a possibility. He got 1 goal, obviously kept the clean sheet here. He got all 3 bonus because it was literally the only goal in the game. 0.47 XGI involvement, 11 points. I mean, I would feel pretty damn good at the moment if I had had Kevin De Bruyne instead of Jacob Murphy. I would have eaten up 11 points and been much closer. I actually think I would have been just inside the top 3,000 or just outside the top 3,000 if I'd done that move. So it just goes to show, play the weeks as it is. Maybe it is worth a -4 making moves that are going to make big points differences. I'm not opposed to that, and I probably played it a bit too safe last week, and that might cost me the top 1K finish, but I'm well entrenched in the top 6,000. I've still got those 2 chips to play, so I'm not too disappointed in total. The captaincy choice for Game Week 35, and look, I'm going to cover 6 different blokes, which are all pretty damn good captaincy shouts on paper and pretty popular. So we're going to start with 2 of the more popular options this week. Salah with 2 points and Marmoush with 2 points. Now, Marmoush was exceptionally disappointing, and to be honest, he has been quite a disappointing asset to have in general. He got no goals, no assists, and he had an XGI of 0.15, which is not what you want from a forward. Like, that is not good enough in a game where you would think that Man City are going to score multiple goals. He really didn't have much involvement. And after that, a lot of people played the triple captaincy on in Game Week 33 in that double, and he ended up with just a total of 4 points from the 2 games. Marmoush, you would say, has been letting down his owners quite a bit. Not good enough. Mo Salah obviously is probably a victim of the fact that Liverpool in general against Chelsea were just poor. He had an XGI of 0.4. And again, didn't really look overly likely. Now, Isaac as well didn't look likely in this game, but this is the beauty of being on penalties. Newcastle won 3 penalties. 2 of them were disregarded because of VAR. The third one was finally given. Isaac stood up. That's where his XGI came from. That 0.95 was pretty much all from the penalty spot. And he scored, got the 3 bonus because of it. I don't know how, because he did nothing else that looked anywhere remotely good in that game, and walked away with the 9 points. Absolutely huge for anyone that captained him this week. And then we look at the other 3 options. Now, I know a lot of people that actively captained Jamie Vardy. Now, that was a pretty godlike play. 9 points there from the Vardy party. He's 1 goal away from that 200. Obviously got the 1 goal from an XGI of 0.48. So not amazing numbers in terms of there, but like 9 points, you take that any day of the week compared to some of the other ones. Now, Brian Mbeumo is where I went. He got 5 points. He only had the 1 assist from the 4 goals that Brentford scored, which, to be honest, was slightly disappointing. He had an XGI of only 0.18, which is not ideal, and he hasn't been screaming down the door in terms of XGI numbers, which does concern me ahead of Game Week 36 when I'm going to be playing my triple captaincy, and he's definitely someone that's in the frame, but he is on penalties, so you've got to remember that as well. Jared Bowen, star of the show there against Spurs. Spurs obviously took an early lead, and ironically, Man United and Spurs were much better with rotated teams than what they've been with their normal teams, which was also a really interesting point to take note this particular game week. Jared Bowen, 9 points, as I said, 0.91 XGI for him. Probably could have got a little bit more. Maybe he was slightly unlucky he didn't return actually with a bigger score. The Game Week 36 FDR. Now, look, the games that obviously I'm looking at for my triple captaincy this week are Brentford versus Ipswich away, and Brentford have been beating up on the promoted teams all season long, and Ipswich look like they are there for the taking. Everton even scored twice against them this week. I know that they obviously scored twice, but I'm not playing it on a defender, so I'm not interested in whether they keep a clean sheet or not. Man City obviously have a Southampton away. Again, a really good looking fixture on paper. Plenty of options you could target there for a triple captaincy as well. Then we've got Nottingham Forest and the Crystal Woody Woodpecker against Leicester. Now, Crystal Woody Woodpecker hasn't been in amazing form. For that reason, he is slightly concerning, it would have to be said. Wolves obviously play Brighton, and Newcastle play Chelsea. Again, not fantastic fixtures on paper. Now, Man United against West Ham is apparently a green fixture for Man United. Now, I think that's more a green fixture for West Ham. I expect Bowen to be really good here as well. I wouldn't be going anywhere near Man United assets this week again. Ditto for Spurs, who play Crystal Palace. I'm not sure how that game's going to go, because Crystal Palace are going to be worried about the FA Cup and Spurs are going to be worried about the Europa League. It could be just 2 reserve teams versus each other. I don't really know how that game's going to go, but those are the games to really look out for this week. And I'll be steering well clear of Liverpool versus Arsenal this particular game week. So my potential transfer plans for Game Week 36, and look, these are the 2 most likely transfers. But obviously the Haaland move is very dependent on whether we get news or confirmation that he's good to go from Pep Guardiola between now and the deadline, which I would think with another week's worth of training, if he's capable of making the bench last week, he's probably capable of starting this week. I'd be shocked if he actually didn't, to be honest. And then, therefore, he seems like a bit of a no-brainer transfer, considering I've got 7.4 million in the bank. Now, the other really good transfer, I think, for my team this week, when we have a look at it a little bit later on, is David Raya out for Matt Sells. Again, Raya's playing Liverpool, and then they've got Newcastle. Sells has got Leicester, and then he's got West Ham. You would expect the probability of Nottingham Forest keeping clean sheets to be significantly higher in those two games than Arsenal. And I would say, other than Pickford, who's got a nice fixture in 37, Sells is probably the standout goalkeeper on paper in terms of probability for clean sheets. So those are my two moves that I'm currently looking at for game week 36. Then we've got the chip play. Game week 36 chip play. My triple captain is going to be active. It's just a matter of who gets the thing. So look, there's Mbeumo or Wissa. I mean, you could even take a risk and put it on Kevin Schade, I suppose, against Ipswich away. Obviously, there's Marmoush, De Bruyne or Haaland. Obviously, I would have to bring in either De Bruyne or Haaland to play it on them in that Southampton away fixture. Then there's Salah. If I just wanted to just take a risk on the man that's just been hammering it in all season at home in Arsenal, maybe he's going to be motivated. Maybe Arsenal are going to be absolutely cooked post the Champions League and just absolutely steamrolled by Liverpool at Anfield. I'm not sure. I feel like Liverpool are going to be more up for this game than they were against Chelsea. Then there's a Crystal Woody Woodpecker against Leicester at home. Surely this is the man that delivers some points here. Or maybe it's a Nottingham Forest midfielder. I'm not sure. And then obviously Isaac, you can never rule him out entirely against Chelsea. He could also be a really good option this particular game week. I'm not sure where I'm going, but it will be active comes the Saturday afternoon deadline. So the game week 36 team currently as things stand. So I'm probably going to be, if I didn't make any transfers, I'd be starting with Verbruggen in goal over Raya. That makes a lot of sense this week. I've still got Murphy starting over Kluivert. However, potentially Kluivert may end up being in because of the fact he is on penalties and he's still actually playing more minutes than what Jacob Murphy is at the moment. And that is becoming a bit more of a problem. Munoz, Guardiol, Milinkovic. That looks like a really good backline this week. Guardiol obviously with Southampton away. Milinkovic with Leicester at home. And Munoz with Tottenham away. As long as he starts, it should be pretty good. That leaves Byrne and Kukurea on the bench who are playing each other. Makes a lot of sense. Jarrod Bowen obviously has got Man United away. Looks really good. Salah is probably the least exciting attacker I've got at the moment with Arsenal at home, but you would expect him probably to show up to teach Arsenal a lesson that they're second for a reason. Brian Mbeumo has got the captaincy and the triple captaincy on him at the moment with that Ipswich away fixture, just due to the fact that he's only blanked once all season against promoted teams, and every other time has been at over a 10-point haul for him in those fixtures. So for that reason, you're backing in the data and how he's gone previously rather than what he's produced the last couple of weeks. Marmoush, obviously against Southampton, looks pretty good, but that could be Haaland. The Whistler Ditto is the vice captaincy at the moment against Ipswich. I expect him to continue his hot form. And Isaac obviously starts against Chelsea. Now, I've got 2 free transfers. I don't know where I'm going to go at the moment, but my triple captaincy chip is going to be active, and I don't know. Let me know in the comments who you would bring in this week with your 2 free transfers of 7.4 million in the bank, and who then would you play your triple captaincy on? I am really intrigued to know. I need some help. I'm going to be running a poll on Twitter later this week, so please get involved. Let me know what you think. I am really intrigued to know. As I said, I could go on Mbeumo, Wissa. I could even bring in Chris Wood for Isaac this week, and I could ditch a Murphy or a Kluivert for a Schade. These are all particular options I could do. So I'm not sure. I could even take a -8 and get rid of Raya for Sells, Schade in for Murphy or Kluivert, Haaland in for Marmoush, and then Isaac out for Wood. I'm willing to take that risk at this time in the season, knowing I'm free hitting in 38. This is a 1 week, 2 week play, and then I'm just going for a whole humdinger in game week 38. That is the plan. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure on my moves at the moment, but these are my thoughts as things stand in terms of how my team's looking for game week 36, where I'm playing my triple captaincy, and things like that. So that brings us to the end of the game week 36 preview. I have been in Perth, which is why I've recorded this, and the lighting is slightly darker because obviously I'm in a different room compared to what I'm normally in with great lighting. Obviously, I'm on my laptop again compared to my own computer as well. The differentials video will be recorded fairly similarly for tomorrow, but then I'm back on Thursday and Friday leading up to the deadline on Saturday. I'm also going to be having FPL Have a Beer join me for the deadline stream on Saturday. So if you are a fan of his Or if you don't know who he is, go and check him out. He'll be joining me. I'm also going to be joining him on his channel over the coming weeks as well. So keep an eye out for that. Without further ado, that's it. Make sure you smash a like on the video before you leave. And if you haven't already, please think about subscribing and helping me out and going towards that 2,000 subscribers milestone. Thanks for watching. That's been FPL D Unit.